Assalamu alaikum, dear students. In the series of learning programming in C, we are discussing functions in C. In the previous video, we have discussed what are functions, why do we need functions, what are the advantages of the functions, and how to write a function. That means how to define a function. That all we have discussed in the previous video very minutely and thoroughly. And in today's video, we are going to discuss one more concept regarding function, that is the function definition, function declaration, or you can say the function prototype. In this video, we will discuss what is function prototype, or how to write the function prototype, or how to declare a function prototype. That all will be discussed in today's video very minutely and thoroughly. So our today's topic is function prototype. Function prototype. Function prototype, or we can say function declaration. Function declaration. So, चूंकि अस पढ़ान functions, पत्मिस वीडियोस में वुच फंक्शन क्या गई तो अस किथ कन फंक्शन लेखान तो अस किथ कन फंक्शन डिफाइन करान तो फंक्शन हिंद जरूरत क्या पेवान तो वुच सोरे युस गोडनुक वीडियो ओस इंट्रोडक्शन टू फंक्शंस पार्ट 1 तथ में वुच सोरे कि किथ कन यम चीज गसान तो अजकिस वीडियोस में वुचो अस ब्याख अख चीज फंक्शन मतलब दैट इज द फंक्शन प्रोटोटाइप और फंक्शन डिक्लेरेशन. As we know that in programming, before using any variable, we have to declare that variable. Programming yem sat is kanti variable use karan chhe, akis programas man kanti variable use karan chhe, variable use karna bronch has pewan se bronch declare karan. Go before using that variable, we have to declare that variable. For example, agar as variable chhe a int a is name of the variable, but before using this a, for example a5, it has a of location, of variable location, of value store 5. Before using here a, before assign the value to a, first of all we have to declare it. Declare. What does declaration mean in this case? In this case, the declaration means that variable is there. A is the name of the variable. That means A is the name of the memory location that is going to hold the integer data type. That is going to hold the value whose data type is int. तो यतन पे वास आप वेरिएबल करन डिक्लेयर ए यूज करने बहुत पहुंच में डिक्लेयर करनी डिक्लेयर से मतलब क्या छ इट टेल्स द कंपाइलर व्हाट टाइप ऑफ डाटा व्हाट टाइप ऑफ द वैल्यू this variable is going to be hold. You see variable छ ये kind type of data छ hold करन that is known to the compiler by its declaration. So lagan it is compiler by and declaration. So it is mandatory to declare a variable before using it. यूज करने बहुत जरूरी कि इसका ये वेरिएबल डिक्लेयर. एंड इन द सेम वे बिफोर यूजिंग अ फंक्शन वी मस्ट डिक्लेयर दैट फंक्शन. वी मस्ट गिव द प्रोटोटाइप ऑफ दैट फंक्शन. इथे कन आप वेरिएबल पेवान डिक्लेयर कर यूज करने ब्रोट इथे कन जरूरी सानि खतर कहीं फंक्शन डिफाइन करने ब्रोट तमिक वर्किंग लेखने ब्रोट कोड लेखने ब्रोट वी मस्ट डिक्लेयर दैट फंक्शन. And declaration and function prototype, one and the same thing. That means we have to give the prototype of that function. Now, what is a function prototype? For example, first of all, we must make it our habit that first of all we should include the header files. Whenever we are going to write any function or any program in C, first of all, we should include the header files. We should make it a habit to include the header files before writing any program. For example, with the help of the program, we will discuss this function called hash include stdio.h hash conio.h. These are the header files in which the various functions, various inbuilt functions, very library functions are defined. Because whenever we are using the program, we are writing a program, any C program, we are using there some inbuilt function, some we can say fundamental functions, inbuilt functions we are going to use there. Those functions are defined in these header files. For example, printf, scanf, getch. These are all the functions which are defined in these header files. So we should include these header files before using those functions. Otherwise, the program will show us error. Okay. And पर क्या करें इसको? After writing these header files, header files we must give the header file this function prototype. What is function prototype? Take here. Syntax. First of all, I will write here the syntax. What is the syntax of function prototype? Now, before defining a function, before using a function, we must declare the function. It is necessary for us to declare the function. That means we have to give the prototype of that function. And what is a prototype? The syntax of prototype. The syntax of writing the prototype of any function is, general syntax we can say, is first of all is the type. We can write more precisely return type. Return type, then function name, or you can say name of the function. Then these parentheses is the indication of function. Parameter list, or we can say arguments. And then last but not least, end of statement, that is a semicolon. Again, set another thought. If we keenly see this prototype, if we keenly observe this, we find that this prototype contains 4 parts. The function prototype contains 4 parts. First part is return type. Okay. Second part is function name. Third part is argument list. And last 4th part is this semicolon, or we can say end of the statement. Thus, we can say that the function prototype contains 4 parts. There are 4 parts of any prototype. Whenever we are going to write a prototype of any function, the function prototype consists of 4, we can say, fields, 4 parts. First one is the return type. For example, what is return? This means what the function is going to be returned. In the previous video, we have discussed how to subtract 2 numbers using function. Taken which I say, us number subtract function istemal karit. Taken koras gotas karte manus mudes function call kar, pat desas beki jayat tani definition, working of the function. चूंकि यस फंक्शन ये तनी काम गसान छे असम गोडनथी व्हाट इज फंक्शन ये बोर्ड का प्रोग्राम लेखान छ फंक्शन क्या छ करन दैट डिवाइड्स अ लार्ज प्रोग्राम इनटू स्मॉलर मॉड्यूल्स एंड दोस मॉड्यूल्स आर कॉल्ड हियर फंक्शंस तिमन से लगते मॉड्यूलन से सेटनस वनान फंक्शन तो सो तिम फंक्शन क्या छ रिटर्न करन तो फंक्शन इज काम दिवान से क्या छ रिटर्न कर व्हाट टाइप ऑफ डाटा द फंक्शन इज गोइंग टू बी रिटर्न kind type of data छ. This means that return type means what type of data. Whether the function is going to return integer data, or the function is going to be return character data, or the function is going to be return float data, or it is also possibility that function will return nothing. Yichu zaruri कि क्या इस रिटर्न टाइप इशू वनान कम अमसुचे येला कम पता कंपाइलर्स कि क्या यसी फंक्शन नेबर कैन छ यस फंक्शन बन कैन डिफाइन कर यस यूजर डिफाइन फंक्शन अफ बनो ये छ करा रिटर्न और इंटीजर टाइप डाटा दिवान वापस फॉर एग्जांपल बस दिवान योर ज नंबर 3 + 5 अगर बसो तय वनान ज नंबर सुबह योर दिवान बसो 3 + 5 दी में ऐड कर तो इशू अब दिवान 8 दैट मींस तो you वापस दिवान 8 what is 8 8 is the integer this 8 is the data of type integer you see integer type data so अगर इस integer ना वापस दिवान छ function और return type छ दिवान तो let बिगनेस int and function name function name is actually identity of the function. Whenever we are going to define any function, or whenever we are going to use any inbuilt function, or we can say our user defining function, first of all we have to give the name to that function. In order to identify that function, we have to, it is mandatory for us to give a name to that function. Zaruri chi yem sat is kanti user defined function banawan chi, tam sat dimo tata naam. That is the identity of the function. Yem sat compiler of function lagi. Yem sat is working the function for when develop of the program how is working of a program to lowest time working of the function that means bilkul clear. So yedam what is function? It is the name that has been given to that user defined function. So now you set up user defining function. For example, add. Name of the function to add because I want to add two numbers. Because is relevant now. Agar मैं subtraction of two numbers by sub. If I have to multiply two numbers, I will give it a mal. Mal. If I have to division, I will give a div or any other name. But we should try to give them some, we can say their names which are self-explanatory. Even stop many subtraction. So that the program will become readable. And iske baad these parentheses. These are the parentheses. This tells the compiler that int is the data type of the function, add int is the return type of the function, add is the name of the function, and here is the parameter list. Parameter list matlab kya ho? Parameter list bas you are 3 and 5. That means I am going to pass two parameters, or you can say two arguments. Parameter as well as arguments one and the same thing. We are going to pass two arguments. But here we have to write the type of the argument. But kind of type books the pass kar. Agar bas kar 3, what is the data type of 3? 3 is an integer. So I can write here int, then comma. Kuita bas karan, dita parameter as pass karan. How many? So these parameters are going to be separated by using the comma operator. Actually, comma operator I can call. And second one is 5. That means also both 3 and 5 are integers. They repeat as int. And after that, this semicolon. This semicolon is mandatory. Don't forget writing this semicolon when you are going to write the prototype of any function. Yam satai kati prototype kunti function lakhanchu. Zarur it is mandatory for you to write this at the end of this prototype. Yeah, we can say this is a function prototype. Function prototype. Or we can say function declaration. Go ahead, function. What does the function declaration tell it tells the compiler what type of the data, what data type, what type of the data the function is going to be returned. What does this one? Tagan pata is quality compilers kind of type of data se function karan return. Ye din se karan int. The catch is add one wapas. Okay. And second one, this is the name of the function. We can say identity of the function. Through this name, the compiler identifies the function, search the function, and within these two parentheses, we can write the arguments. How many arguments the function is going to be passed? How many arguments is going to be passed to the function? Which the argument and what type of the arguments are going to be passed? Which is first can type it. You can say zikr argument after z, and both are integer. Zaruri chun bakar both bakar 3 plus 3.5. That means you can put an integer without float, but it is float. That means I am going to pass here two different types of the arguments. First one is the integer type and second one is the float type. And last one is the semicolon. So we can say that the function prototype consists of 4 parts. First one is the returning type of the function. We tell the compiler what type of the data, what type of the data is going to be returned by the function. And second one is the name of the function. The name of the function is the identity to the function by which the function is going to be identified. And third one, within these parameters are called the parameter list or the arguments. That means how many parameters are going to be passed to that function. Or how many arguments are going to be passed and what type of the arguments. Which is argument. Integer cha, character cha, float cha, integer character cha, Okay, and last one is the semicolon. This is all about the declaration of the function, or we can say the function prototype. Okay, I hope now you have now understood what is function prototype. The function prototype tells the compiler what type of data the function is going to be returned, what is the name of the function, and what type of the arguments are going to be passed, and last one is the semicolon. Don't forget to use the semicolon at the end of this function prototype, or we can say at the end of the function declaration. Okay, hope now you are understood. Now you are aware about the function prototype. Now, depending upon the function prototype, and but you show us here, kitchen check on examples. Gwanetsu is here, function check. Function of different types, but depending upon the function prototype, depending upon the function prototypes, there are 4 different types of the functions. How many functions? There are 4 different types of the function, but depending upon the function prototype. Function prototypes, if we are going to categorize the function on the basis of their prototypes, there are 4 different types of the function. There are 4 types of the functions. अगर हम एक फंक्शन को उनके प्रोटोटाइप के मुताबिक कैटेगराइज करें, डिवाइड करें, वहां पे 4 मुख्तलिफ किस्म के फंक्शंस हमें मिलेंगे. There are 4 different types of the function depending upon the function prototype. First one is the, take care, function with no return type and arguments, parameters are. The function with no return types and arguments. Second one, function with no return type but with arguments. Third one, function with return type but no arguments. And last one, function with return type and arguments. We can say, depending upon the prototype of the function, depending upon the prototype of the function or declaration of the function, there are 4 different categories of the functions. First one is the function with no return type and argument. Some function yet no return type that means the function which are going to return nothing. The function which are going to be return nothing but and no arguments, and no arguments have been passed to that function. Both. Yet when the argument pass gatan, the return chun yo kihin gatan. Your chun kihin gatan pass or chun return one kihin. Kun type it chun kihin. That function comes out as one function with no return type and argument. Example, agar take here. Void example. Void add void this. Void add void this. In example like business. Function with no return type. That means void but with arguments. And function with return type. int but no argument. Void. Function with return type int and arguments. Sorry. Wait. Void. The name of the function is mandatory. Here, function with return int add. Function with return type, that means int, add and arguments. These are the 4 different types of the functions depending upon their function prototype. If we are going to categorize the function based on their function prototype, there are 4 different categories of the function. First one is the function with no return type and arguments, and no arguments. Second one is the function with no return type but with arguments. And third one is the function with return type but with no arguments. Function with return type and argument. That means both return type as well as arguments are going to be possible here in this type of functions. There are 4 different types of the arguments. 4 different types of the function depending upon the function definition. Go अगर categorize करो तो वाले किस्म function से आसान. You must basis on the basis of the function prototype, the function declaration pack karo. So किस्म function chess you want. So first of all, we will go to discuss what is the function with no return type and no arguments. What is karo is discuss the function with the help of an example. And in the next videos, we will discuss all these types one by one. So, for example, we want to add 2 numbers. We want to write a function which will add 2 numbers. A function add carry 2 numbers. For example, first of all, here I have used this header file stdio.h, stdio.h, and include conio.h. I am putting a function prototype. Chunki मैं check करें function with no return type and with no arguments. That means void. Name of the function is add and with no argument. Here I can also write void. This is a function prototype, or we can say function declaration. After that, int man function, and in the man function I am going to declare a function called void add. And add is another function void add integer a b int sum equal to 0, or I can declare here a equal to 3, b equal to 5, sum equal to a plus b, print the sum of 2 numbers equal to percentage d sum look at this. Take care. This is an example of the function with no arguments and with no return type. Function is return whenever a called function is whenever called function is going to return nothing. Function return at that time we are going to write that data type, return type void. Void means nothing. Yem saat as kihin return as karan function. Tam saat is zaruri as lekho void. Kyazi meles function prototype winno mewon tak 4 parts asan. First one part asan type, that means the data type. What type of data is function going to be returned? Kyunki yetem chani function return as karan kihin, to so मैंने यहाँ पर लिखा है void. So I have right here void. Void is nothing. Void means nothing. ना कुछ किhin चले return karan. After that, add. What is add? Add is the name of the function. Now add user defined function is the banana function. Now add and void. That means the main function is going to pass nothing. Main function chale pass karan yet kihin void. Nothing is going to be passed. यानी किहिन गासी that means void. अगर मैं इसके थ्रू, for example, मेरे खुद किहिन आइटनेस, बेशक no error will be generated. It is possible. There is a possibility that the program will run, but it is good practice. When you are going to pass nothing as arguments, no arguments are going to be passed to the calling function, then it's a good practice to write here a void. Then pada sentence lakun what? Don't put the program na dialoma. Spend data must mean program. It is better to write here void when we are going to pass no arguments. When there is no arguments in a function, no parameters in the function, it is better to write here the void. So I write here a void. Make it a habit. But in those type of functions where nothing is going to be passed, क्योंकि ये चीज कहीं pass करा मेरे को इतना void. तो क्योंकि we know that the execution of the program starts from the man. अगर हर function ते लेख मगर इस execution of the C program that is going to be started from the man. That means first of all the execution is going to be started from here. यहाँ void भी लिख सकते हैं as you like int में. यहाँ से start होगी execution. ये execution void add क्योंकि अंदर ये रिटर्न हुआ है कि अंदर here a function is called. That means function call. Here a function is going to be called. Add that now too. From attack scan ये रिटर्न हुआ है execution it will go back. You got never. तो गणित का लेते हैं चार अनु function prototype, function declaration capture. Void add. Don't confuse. नॉन कसन बराबर रहा यहाँ भी हम वाई लिख सकते हो. Sorry. Take care. No semicolon here because here the function is going to be defined. This is a function declaration, function definition of function. Definition में क्या चीज बना? The working of the function, code. The code of that function is going to be written. Yeten इस function define करान चे ताकि चेसन code लिखान working काम क्या चे करान function. Yeten चुने हो मुदा addition कितने गैस function ये क्योंकि computer का have no intelligence of its own. It cannot know what is add, how to perform the addition. The computer does not know how to perform the addition. We have to give instructions to the computer how to perform instruction. So here I am going to write this code. Define. This is called a function definition. This is a function definition. Here the working of the function is going to be how the function is going to work. Execution कितने जगह था. That is going to be specified here. And पत्ते का इसको जितना void, but don't confuse. Don't put any semicolon here. Function definition. Here int a b. The variable can be declared of a b. Int sum and second one sum of variable. And I have assigned sum 0. That means sum is going to assign a value 0 and a 3 b 5. That means a has been initialized by 3, 5 has been initialized, b has been initialized by 5, and sum is going to initialize 0. Okay. Sum equal to a plus b. That means the addition of a plus b. That means what is a? 3 plus 5. That 3 plus 5 equal to 8. That this 8 is going to store, is going to assign to sum. That means here the new value will be 8. After that, this line will get executed. Printf the sum of two numbers. The sum of two numbers equal to percentage sum. What is sum? 8. 8 will get printed. And after that, the program will go back here, get ch. That means the program will end. That means this function returns nothing because क्या कहीं और कहीं दोनों वैल्यू तम कतनस ये फंक्शन डेफिनेशन से मज योर कहीं वैल्यू दैट मीन्स नो आर्गुमेंट्स हैव बीन पास्ड फ्रॉम द calling function call करन called function यस करन call no arguments a function call यह function कोई argument pass गसान and no return type that means nothing has been returned to the called function yes call set करन तमिस वापस return गसान कहीं तवल the function with no arguments no return type and with no arguments. This is an example of the function with no arguments and no arguments. With no arguments and with no return type. I hope now you have now understood what is function prototype. What does function prototype tell the compiler? Why we write the function prototype? Okay. So, and depending upon the function prototype, how many different categories of functions are there? I said you there are 4 different types of the functions depending upon the function prototypes. And first one that the function with no return type and with no arguments. This is the common example. With the help of this example, I have discussed the working of this function, this type of function, the function which have no prototype, no return type, and no arguments. Hope now you have now understood the first type of the functions when we are going to characterize them on the basis of their prototype. And inshallah, in the next video, we will discuss other types of their functions, other types of depending upon categorized on the basis of their prototype. That will discuss in the next video, inshallah. Till next video, take care. Bye bye.